Hey guys, Andrew Masters here with another episode on Studio Time, and today we're going to be taking a look at an audio interface called the Zen Quadro from Antelope Audio. Let's get into it. First, let's take a look at this bad boy. This is a tabletop interface. It is a 14 by 10, and we'll get into what those numbers mean here in a second. This is the front face of it. Very simple, all black, matte black. Here are the front connections, so when you're sitting on your desk, these are accessible to you. And then right behind the interface are the rear connections here. These little tabletop interfaces are getting better and better as the years pass. This would make for a great mobile rig studio that gives you 4 discrete preamps, line input, and high-Z inputs with 75 dB of gain each, which is pretty awesome. Great sounding preamps, connects bus powered USB-C, so you literally, no power supply, you just plug in USB-C and that gives you the power. Obviously, this is something that you could use that would work great for a home studio situation, a podcast situation, but it also works as a standalone unit so that you can save your settings to the hardware and take it with you and use it without the computer, which is very, very useful. Here in my studio, I use the Antelope Audio Galaxy 32, and it's the same way. It is set hardware preset saved as a standalone unit so that everything always works all the time. All right, so let's power this thing up. I'm gonna plug in our USB-C cable right here. I'm using a Thunderbolt cable, but it works just the same. It's gonna go ahead and power up. So now I don't have any speakers connected to this, but this is just generally how you're gonna operate this thing. We have our selectable knob here, which is going to control whatever you select. So on the top button, we can go to gain. This is going to toggle between our 4 different front discrete mic pre, line, or high-Z inputs. So I can turn up my mic pre volume with this selectable knob, or I can hit it again, actually press the button. You can see we have switched to our line input. Press it again, and we are now in our high-Z input. All 4 inputs have combo jacks. So depending on what you're trying to do, you can toggle through it with this knob right here. Next, we have our headphone and monitor button. So now our knob is controlling the levels of our headphones. So we can switch between headphone 1, headphone 2. You have your line out, which is channels 3 and 4 out. And then you have your monitor volume here. And if you want to mute any of these, you just press the button. To mute it, same thing, headphones, mute headphones, same thing here. This is helpful, especially when you are disconnecting or reconnecting any inputs. And then this is back to your home screen, which is essentially just your meters for your different connections. So your analog inputs, SPDIF inputs, and then your monitor and headphones. Again, on the front of the device, we have our 2 combo jack inputs for high-Z microphone or line inputs. Then you have your headphone inputs here, so you can connect to those. Then our rear connections here, you have inputs 3 and 4. You have your monitor outs to your speakers, and then you have an additional 2 line outputs that you can send signal to. And then you have your SPDIF in and out. In addition to these inputs on the interface, you can also expand another additional 8 inputs via ADAT, which if you're not familiar, ADAT is optical digital cable that you can use. If you have an additional 8 channels of microphone preamps or another interface with 8 mic pre's, you can come out of that into the side of this Zen Quadro right here. And those will show up inside of the control panel on the ADAT inputs. So you could have a total of 14 inputs into this one device. And then all the way to the right is your bus powered USB port. And then you have a second USB port if you're gonna do any streaming and you wanna do a loop back audio routing situation, which they have a really helpful guide on their website if you wanna see how you can connect all of those different possibilities. All right, let's go ahead and plug in our microphone. I'm going to plug into channel 4 here, and we are going to power on phantom power. And if I hit gain, I can go to preamp 4. You can see 48 volts is on. I can turn up my preamp and I have my microphone here. So as I talk, you're going to see that level move on the meter as I speak into the microphone. So now I can see my meter here on my level, and I can also see it on the home page of the interface. And for headphones, we can plug our headphones right into the front, and we can control our headphone output level right here. So I can get either less or more of my headphones to monitor what I am doing. So now that we've gone through this, you can understand how to actually operate this thing and get it powered on. Next, what you're gonna wanna do is actually install their software so that you can have a little more control of this thing. All right, so let's take a look at the software. I've gone ahead and got it installed. So we're gonna open up our launcher. The Zen Quadro launcher opens up like this. It will basically show which devices are connected. You can see at the top here is the Zen Quadro. You just click on the interface itself to start the control panel, or you can click this button here. It's going to open it up. By the way, you can open multiple instances of this, which is a little weird. Once it's up, this is essentially what it's gonna look like. You have two different types of views here. You have your default view and then your compact view, which just sort of like fits more into the window. But if we go to the default view here, you have 3 or 4 different sections. This top section here is going to show you your clock source, the sample rate, and then the session profile. As I mentioned before, you can save the actual, I think it's actually called a session. So you can actually save your settings as a session up here, and then you can load them. Underneath that, we have our inputs. You have your mic pre's line inputs or high-Z inputs, which you can control with your mouse. Also, obviously, control on the device. Above each mic pre, you can select whether you want it to be mic line or high-Z. Underneath it, you have your phantom power, your phase flip, and then you also have a mic modeling feature. If you have some of that software, you can add those in. And then for phantom power, the one little tip I'll give you here is you have to command click. So command left click on the mouse to actually turn on phantom power. That is a little secret, probably a safety feature so you don't accidentally click phantom power on when you shouldn't. Then underneath that, you have your monitoring section. So each channel that you have here, you can direct monitor to the headphones or to the speakers if you want to have a latency-free monitoring. So essentially, when you plug in your guitar, you want to hear it through the computer and you don't have Logic or Pro Tools up, you can just monitor it straight through this mixer here, which is really, really nice. Also on the monitoring, you can add effects. They have their own whole suite of plugins and effects that you can use to either monitor through while you're writing or performing, and then you can also record through them as well, which is kind of crazy. So you have your faders, you've got your pan, you can add your effects, and then down here in this bottom section is essentially your monitoring and metering. So you've got your headphones, you've got your speaker out or monitor, you've got dim, mute to turn your speakers up or down, mute them, quiet them, whatever. And then your meters section over here on the right. There's a lot more that you can do with this, but to get up and rolling, this is essentially it. Then on your monitor section here, you just have a couple other tabs that can show you what you're doing with those specific sections, like the SPDIF, USB 1, USB 2, I/O, etc. Now, next thing I want to do is actually plug in this microphone, and we'll turn it on. So I've got it plugged in here. I'm gonna turn the phantom power on. It's on channel 4 on the back. So I'm gonna command click 48 volts. And then I'm gonna go ahead and turn up our pre here. Go over to mic preamp 4. By the way, while I'm loading this, if you're interested in any of the Antelope stuff, this is $6.99 brand new retail off their website. But since I'm doing this cool video for them, you can get a 10% discount on purchase with the code down in the description. Go check that out if you're interested in any other stuff. Save a little bit of money. Now I'm going to turn up the input for my preamp. I've got 48 volts on. So as I start to turn this up, we'll start to see a little bit of level come in here, and you should be able to hear me just fine. Bring this closer, check 1, 2, hey, hey, hey. So now we have our signal coming in. You can do this obviously on any of the preamps. The preamps are all nice and clean, discrete preamps. So let's test this out. I'm gonna put headphones on and grab a guitar, and I'll just play something so you can hear how it works. I've got my trusty WA-14 with me. All right, so if I wanna hear myself, I just pull up the fader in the monitor section so I can actually hear myself in the headphones. Sounds great. Check 1, 2. Oh yeah. Mic stand on a table. This is a real home studio setup. Since we're doing a lot of Radiohead Don't mind if I do. So there you have the sound of the preamp, little acoustic guitar recording, very easy setup, one plug, USB-C, XLR in, headphones out, I can hear it. Also, if I disconnected the computer and I needed to use this for some sort of live setup, I could just bus power it with the USB-C and still use this as a standalone device. Yeah, any other info that you want to check out about it, I will put a link to this page down in the description. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. Again, check out the discount code. If you do want to pick up any of their stuff, you can get 10% off, save a little bit of money. And yeah, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys in the next video.